Hello. Today we are going to be making some potassium phosphate with a pH level of 6, and I use this a lot in my agars. It helps keep my cultures growing that I need to feed my worms. So I need to resupply them. So today we're going to be making it. They're going to look just like this in a bottle with a label, orange lid, and some autoclave tape. First things first is we need some gloves. It's always important to have gloves on so you don't get any chemicals on your hand while you're working with stuff. Some chemicals are harsher than others, but it's always good to play it safe. So we're going to need three main things for today. We need potassium phosphate monobasic and potassium phosphate dibasic. We'll be taking a little bit of each, mixing them in with water by themselves, and then combining the solution and testing the pH at the end. So, to begin, we need to measure out the amount that we need for each. Okay, so for our first chemical that we need 9.2 grams. This is a weigh boat. Now, with a weigh boat, this is what we use to hold our chemicals in until we need to use them. So we'll set it on the scale, and then here there's a tare button. So you see how it says 0.007, we hit tare, and it'll bring it down to 0.000. And now we can weigh out what we need for our first chemical. So we take a spatula, and we take the jar, and you'll slowly add until you get the amount that you need. So now we went over, we're at 10 grams, but we need that 9.2. So we'll take a little bit out. As long as it's not contaminated, it is okay to put it back into the jar. And we just need a tiniest bit more. There we go. We are at 9.207. That is pretty close to the correct amount, and that is good enough for what we need to do today. Okay, I got another weigh boat for our second chemical because we need to keep them separate for now. So I put that back onto the scale, and then you can hit tare again to bring it back down. Now sometimes with the scales, the very bottom number will fluctuate a little, and that is perfectly normal. So for our second chemical, we need 47.2 grams. This is a lot more than the first one. So for this one, since it's so much, I can kind of use this to pour it. Now, the amount I need is too much to fit into this weigh boat. And since this is the biggest size that I have currently, we are going to split it up into two amounts. We are going to do 27.2 and then add another 20 grams to equal our 47.2 grams. As you can see, I got 27.215. Again, that is close enough to the amount that we need, so I'm going to take this and set it aside. Now I have another empty weigh boat. We set it back on, and we tare it again. Now we only need to add 20 grams. Okay, now we have 20 grams, 0.022 grams. This is what we need to finish off our chemicals. Now, it is really important to make sure you clean your station after you use it so that if someone else uses it, it is clean and ready for them. So we always tare it so that it's 0, and then we'll go ahead and shut it off because we don't need to use it. Now, you take whatever cleaner you use, as long as it's not going to react with any chemicals you use, and you can do a little spray down and wipe it off. In this case, this pops off, so in case anything slides under it, you can still give it the wipe it needs. Pop it right back on. And then also make sure you wipe the area around, because sometimes the chemicals can go places. Okay, for this next part I can do it sitting down. So I have a spin plate in front of me. Basically it's a magnet that will take our little stir rods that we have and it'll make it spin. So first things first is we take a fresh beaker. This is a beaker. It currently has tape on it. This tape, black lines, means that it's sterile. So what we do is we heat it enough to kill any of the bacteria or anything that's in there so it won't react. The tape starts out like this. You can see little faint lines on them, but as soon as they get hot enough, they turn black. So we can peel this off because we know it's nice and clean. Just like that. This is a 400 milliliter beaker. So we set that right there. And then we can take a appropriate size stir stick. Same thing, it's wrapped in foil with the tape so that you know it's sterile and ready to go. Peel it out, and this one looks like a little X. So you drop it in there, and you can see that it is right in the center of that. Then the first one we're going to do is the chemical that needed the bigger mass. So we're going to take it, going to dump it right in, tap it so that anything on there will fall out. Now it's empty, we'll set it aside, and then we'll grab the other one and we'll pour it in. Now I have these all set next to each other, including the first one. It's important to remember what the chemicals look like so you don't get them mixed up. And then we'll set that one aside. Now all of that, including the foil, will just go right into the trash. Now we get to do the fun part, which is add the water. So I have this, which is a graduated cylinder. This one goes up to 500 milliliters. However, for this, we only needed about 350. So we'll go ahead and add that in. And then we'll set this aside to clean later. Now I turn on the stir plate, slowly bring it up, and you can see that everything starts to rotate. And it'll spin and spin, and eventually you'll see a vortex start to form right down the middle. This helps pull water in from the top down to the bottom to dissolve everything in here. Now we need to let this sit, and it'll take a little bit to dissolve. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and take our smaller beaker. This one is 100 milliliters. Same thing with the black tape, means it's all good to go. So we'll go ahead and peel this off and throw this in the trash. Now we need an even smaller stir bar, or about the same size would work. So we'll take this one, unwrap it like a Christmas present. Who knows which one's inside? And look, it's an even smaller X. So we'll take this and we'll drop it in. Then we'll take our powder and we'll add that as well. Tap this in so that anything in there will come out. This can go to the trash now that we're done with it. And then we have a smaller graduated cylinder compared to the big one. This one has about 55 milliliters of water in it. And we can go ahead and give that an add as well. And then we can set this aside to clean, and we'll set this one aside. It can sit and it won't do any harm until it's ready. and then we'll come back once this one is all mixed, good to go. It'll take a couple minutes, and then it'll show you the other one. Okay, that first one is done, and I set it aside. Now we're going to pop this one on, which will start spinning right away. And we can wait while that mixes up. I'll show you our little pH strips. So a pH strip will show you the pH of a chemical. It'll show you how basic or acidic it is on a scale from about 0 to 12. Some scales may vary, that's just the one we use here. There are these little pieces of paper. They start out as this color, and you can line them up to match the color. You want to line it up so that this lines up just like this. And then after you dip it in your liquid, you can match the pH. So we'll test it by dipping it into the beaker that I have already set aside. You can see that the color changed just a little bit. Maybe, if it'll focus. And then you can line it up. So right now, I would say we're sitting at a pH of roughly 4.5. This is kind of hard to see. And we're aiming for 6. So hopefully that adding this solution to it will bump it up to that 6 that we need. Now, a lot of people don't know that pH stands for potential of hydrogen, because hydrogen is what causes acidity in most chemicals. So the P, which is little p, stands for potential, and H, which is big H, stands for hydrogen. Because when you're talking about an element on a periodic table, you'll want to capitalize at least the first letter and then lowercase the second letter. Okay, this one looks like it is just about good mixed up. So now we'll grab our bigger beaker and we'll grab another stir bar. This one is not an X, and it is just long. So we'll go ahead and open that up and unroll it like a Christmas present. And this one is just a little stick, and this is why we call it stir. We'll drop this one in. You want to be careful when you're working with bigger ones not to drop it too far, because it could risk damaging the beaker itself. So we'll slide it in on the side and set it down. So first things first is we'll go ahead and add our smaller amount just slowly. Slow enough so that the stir stick does not fall in there. And don't worry if it does fall in there. We have tools that we can use to get it out. Now we'll grab our bigger solution and we'll go ahead and give that a pour. As well as to be careful that our little stir stick doesn't fall in. Just like that. We'll set these aside as well to clean later. Now, finally, we need to mix the two together. Turn that down so you can see a little bit better. So right now the plate is off, so we'll turn it up to 1, then we'll turn it up to 2, then 3, and 4, and so on. It only goes up to 10, but we want to spin it enough so you have that vortex forming right there. You want that vortex to go all the way down. Now we're mixing this all together. It is a little loud sometimes, but that's just what happens when you're working in the science field. Things get loud. But you can always adjust this to make it slightly quieter. You can always pull it back. And look at that. Now it's pretty much quiet. And that's okay. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's quiet. You just got to figure out what works for you. Okay. That should be mixed enough, so we'll turn that off. And we'll grab our pH strip again. Just 1, not 2. there's our beginning colors. Then we'll go ahead and give it a dip for a second and pull it out. Now you can see how dark that one turned. So now we can line it up with this one on the end. This is saying 6 pH. So that's what we're looking for. And if you line it up, those colors are just about perfect, which means we are where we need to be. But we're not done yet. We got a little bit more to do before we're ready to call it quits for today. Okay, the next thing to do is we need to put it in these little jars. Now I have made 400, and we store 400 milliliters, which you can see if I turn this around, that if you look right here, this line is just about at that 400 mark. It's actually a little over, which is okay. So now we have 400 milliliters, and we need to put 50 milliliters in each jar, which comes just between these two lines right up here. And that will split into 8. You can see all my fingers. Splits into 8 jars. So this jar has that black tape that I told you about earlier, so that you already know that it's sterilized. So we'll go ahead and peel that off, because we know it's sterilized, and now we're going to make it a little unsterile by opening it. So we'll take the lid off, and then we have this. This is a pipette. Now this one is 10 milliliters, and we also have a bigger one that is 25 milliliters. So we'll go ahead and use this 25 milliliter one, because we can fill this in 2 pumps versus the 10 pumps with the other one. Sorry, the 5 pumps with the other one. So with a pipette, there's an end right here, and you take your pipetter and you put it in. Now this is the scroll wheel. You'll use the scroll wheel to pull up your solution, and then once the solution is full, you can use this button to release it into your container, or you can take the top and push it down to release it. Either way works. People sometimes have preference, so I'll go ahead and show you how it works. Now you can see the solution coming up the pipette slowly but surely until we reach right here. Let me bring it down. This is the 25 milliliter mark. Now we take it and we transfer it into our little container. Okay. Now we do that one more time. Bring it up to 25 milliliters and then push it back down. Tap the side for any drops. You cannot always tap the sides depending on what you're working with, but for this it's okay. We'll set this down on a paper towel so it doesn't get our solution everywhere. Here you go. Now we take this, and for now we close the lid. You don't want to close it all the way tight, but just almost tight. And we'll set it aside. Now I'll do the same thing for the other 7 I have to do. Okay, we are almost done. There are 2 more important things we need to do. The first one is we need to label and tape it, and the second is we need to autoclave it. So, just like you saw before, this tape is the blank tape. You can kind of see the lines, but they're not quite there. And actually for this part, we're done touching the chemical, so our gloves can come off. This will help grab the tape a lot easier. So you take a little piece of the tape and you rip it, and then you take it and you'll cover part of the lid, basically this seal right here. Now the lid can move a little, but people will know that it hasn't been opened because when you turn it, the tape will break. Now we do that for all 8 of these real quick. And then the next part is the most important part, in my opinion, is you need to label exactly what you have. Because you might not be the only one touching these, So you always want to make sure that other people know exactly what's in them so they can be safe about it. Now, this compound that we've made is not super harmful. You still don't want to really put it on your skin or anything, but you always want to cover your bases and make sure you get it labeled. So for this label, we're going to use some white tape and a red Sharpie. Doesn't really matter what you use as long as it is legible. So we'll take a little bit of this tape, enough to write on, peel it, take the corner and we'll fold it over just like that so that it's easy to peel off when you're done with it. Now we'll go ahead and put this right on here. So you have this little lip at the end that you fold it over. So after you use the chemical inside, you can peel this off so it's ready for the next one. So once you put the tape on, you'll go ahead and write what you have. So we got 1 molar of KPO4. This is 50 milliliters in this jar. It is a pH of 6.0. And then you have to write the date you did it. So it is July 22nd, 2026. And it'll look just like that. I don't have the best handwriting, so it might not be easy for you guys to read on camera, but it'll look just like that. And then we'll go ahead and do it for all 8. And then we'll get to our last step. Okay, so for the last part is we go ahead and take this metal tray. These are actually the same ones that are used in most restaurants, but don't worry, this will not end up at your restaurant, I promise. So we'll go ahead and set this down. We'll put all 8 of our bottles in here. They're the only thing I have to autoclave right now, so we'll throw them in here. Then we take this. I have a cart sitting right here with some heat-resistant gloves, which are super important to have. We'll go ahead and throw this on the tray. And then we'll go ahead and take it up to our autoclave, which is on the 4th floor. So I'll meet you there. Okay, this is our giant autoclave. And here are our 8 bottles we made today. This gets to go into the oven for an hour. And then we'll have to come back up. Say goodbye for now. It has now been an hour, so we can say hello to our little friends coming out. Take a second for the door to pop open. There we go. Grab our little cart. And I can show you that right as it comes out. You can see all that. Don't worry about the water in the tray. That is totally normal. Okay, and then I'm gonna pop downstairs once I have it there. Okay, we have them back downstairs. Our little jars that we just made today live here on this shelf. As you can see, there's only 2 left, which is why I had to make some more. And I made these on June 5th. And it's now July 22nd. So we'll just take the old ones and put them in the back. And have the old ones up front. Not that this stuff really goes bad that fast, especially how fast we use them around here, but it's always good to use the older stuff first, just in case if, let's say, this batch got contaminated with something, or the old batch, for whatever reason, started going bad, you know. So then I know what's what and can keep everything in track. And then these last 2 will go all the way back there. All the way back. And then there's one last thing we have to do, which is an important part to end your day. And that is clean up all the dishes that you have, which isn't too much. So we'll give all this a wash and it'll end up right up there. like, whoa, look at that. They're all clean. It's like it was magic. Anywho, that's all I have. Thank you for joining me in the lab today and seeing what I was up to. Till next time.